Welcome back. In this video, what we're going to do is firstly, let's just go ahead and turn all this off. Okay, let's go ahead and save it. And we are going to basically uh, do the handling click events in this video. Let's make our application to do this whenever we click on the button here, check. So this is going to be the first time that our code reacts to something that happens in the DOM, and for that we need to use an event listener. And now an event listener in some things that happens on the page, example like click or a moving mouse or a key press or any other events, then with an event listener we can wait for a certain event to happen and then react to it. So let's try it out. So let's as we have removed every previous code here, so this is just for better understanding. Now we'll start developing the application step by step. We first need to select element. Element should happen in this case on this button element here, the check. So this is where the click will happen. Let's say, okay, let's say document dot query selector. So let me here write dot click. Okay, and then we are going to add this click as an add event listener, and then again here click. Basically we specify the reaction to the click event, and when we do that by the function will contain exactly the code that should be executed whenever the click event happens on the check button, and that function is going to be called the event handler. Now other methods also says this add event listener method here is a specific kind of a function. That's because a second argument, it expects the event handler function that we just talked about. So again here as the second argument we now need to pass in a function value. So as an argument it's confusing, but don't worry about that, you will get an idea as we move on. So here now let's add a function here. Basically function is just a value, then we can pass it on to another function as an argument, just like any other value like string or a number. So by clicking here the type inside, we'll just put an comma and then add here a function. So we'll leave this function empty parenthesis, and here we'll go and console.log. Here we'll write document.query selector. So here we are going to take the guess, okay, and then we are going to write dot value. So this is how we are going to declare it. Now we'll just save it. Okay, now when we log 9, we should be able to see that log to the console. We have written in this statement one function, right? Let me just describe how a function is also written. So here we'll write some example constant x equals to function. So here we'll console.log of 23 here in this case. But can you notice the difference what we have written here? So between this and this, so here we just declared a single function, but here we are declaring this function inside of a function, right? So basically we haven't stored this function value here anywhere. So let me just go ahead and do that and remove this, and here we are going to store this console. Instead of directly console.log, we'll just store it here in a variable. So let's declare a constant variable guess equals to okay, and then now we will console.log this guess. So initially Yeah, we are going to talk about the check button, right? So here it is not about click. I did a mistake here. So it is a check here. See, now it was reloaded. Now we can add here some random number. So when we click enter 9, so it is getting logged out 9 here to the console. Okay, so let's quickly recap what we just did here. So we have selected this button, this check here using the query selector, and then we added an event listener method on this element to attach an event handler, and then the event handler in this function here. Okay, just a function expression. It's similar to when we just do, just for example, this I have shown you previously, constant x equals to function, right? So this is how here we wrote a function but didn't assign anything into the variable. And coming to this example, here we have stored this function into this variable called guess here. So we just console.log guess, instead of directly calling out this, we stored it and then calling out. Okay, so as the first argument we had the name of the event that we are listening for, which is click, and then as the second argument we have the function value. The function simply contains the code that we want to execute. The event happens, and we didn't call any function anywhere. We just didn't define the function here. We just defined the function here and passed it on into the event handler. But in JavaScript engine, so that calls the function as soon as the event happens. So as you can see, actually functions needs to be returned, right? But in our case, when we have written here the function, we didn't return any value here. So in JavaScript, whenever you put an event listener, so when the function is passed out, when it goes to this event, so this automatically gets executed, it returns the value. So there no need to be having any return value here. Now let's start slowly building up this game. So in the real game, when we click on the button, of course from the input field we'll go and get a retrieve. So let's start with that. And now we have already did that here. Instead of logging into console, let's actually save it into a variable. Let me just show you how, in which type of it is getting our value. Let me just save it, and here we'll write 9. Check, see, here it is returning this value in the format of string. Okay, now we don't want our numbers to be in the string, so we need to convert them into the number format. For that, previously we have learned, right? So put everything inside the number number of, so that when we wrap this in this number of, see, now it is getting number. See, now instead of string it is showing number, right? So this is the output we are expecting here. So let's now start to implement the game logic here a little bit. But just a simple case. So which is the case that there are actually no guess. So if an applicant like this, which has no input value from the user, the first thing to do is check if there is a value. So let me just reload it. So when we haven't declared here any variable in this input box, so this game should go ahead and check this input if we have the user have given a value here or not. So if there is no value here, then it should execute a line of code. And if there is no value, then we can print something to the console as a response. Like here, if we are going to write if not equals to guess, so if not guess, so guess here we are getting here in the format of boolean, right? So if guess is true, then it is getting executed. So if there is no guess, not guess any, means this statement class is guess, so I'm telling it is a guess. So here we'll write if there is no guess written, let's say document dot query selector, this dot message dot text content, we'll say no number. Okay, let me just go ahead and check it. So we have written our line of code, right? So we haven't declared here anything. So when we check it, so what we did wrong here is this if statement in this loop, it should be inside within this, okay, not outside here. So let me just go ahead and save it. See here, then we have no errors. So let me just check here. So when we haven't declared here anything, so let's just go ahead and check. So here we are getting no number, and also here number it is getting right. So here number before 0 also we should log it here, our output as well. So we are going to write here a guess and then type of guess. Okay, so here we'll check. See, when we give 0, right, so 0 is also number, and here we are getting no number as an input. So when we click here 9, so 9 is a number, and then it shows number here. So this is how it works. Okay, because it will only execute whatever the whole condition here is true. So with this we implement the first scenario. So again, the first scenario is always to assume that there is no input, and then we need to respond to that somehow. So in the next video we'll implement all the scenarios, for example where the guess here is correct, or where it is equals to secret number. So we'll generate that secret number and then compare it to guess. So we'll see all that in the next video. That's it for this video.